Hey everybody. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, I can barely hear you. By the way, I'm looking at Chuck there and I'm thinking to myself that the people who are working on software are all doing this to their beards. Because I just saw Chuck doing this. It's like, got stuff to do. All right. I can kind of see you guys good. I can't hear you very well. Somebody say something. It's very quiet. I need more response than that. Oh, that's better. I don't know if you guys were louder or they just turned up the mic. I don't know. Either way, it was much better for me. Okay. So I don't have a lot prepared because I've been slightly busy with other things lately. So I'm going to give you some updates on what we're working on here and then open it up so you guys can ask a few questions or whatever. First of all, let me say that anything Chuck told you, he was, if it was negative toward me, it was absolutely false. Those stories he tells, he makes those up all the time. I know what he does. I'll set the record straight later on any of those things. No, actually, it's cool to see Chuck. When did I see you in New York, man? That was like a few years ago.
He says 2010.
Wow. Time's flying, man. Look at our gray hair. Wow. Awesome. And so I'm assuming you got a cool update from Chuck on his project, and he probably put together some sweet stuff that I didn't do, since, I'm a loser. But I do have cool stuff behind me. Look at this set. I'm like on a set here. Guys, like we're in the QA area and the guys like set up all these cool banners and cool artifacts that you guys built, playing games. You see that? Pretty cool. And other interesting artifacts that may or may not be interesting once you play one of our later games we're working on. So, as I said, I'm here in the QA department. If I turn this thing around, you'll see hardworking people playing Abduction. Much to their chagrin, they're sick of it and they hate it because they've been playing it for months and they won't admit it, but imagine playing the game over and over and over and over and over every day. Every day. Wait, watch. Let's see. That's Josh right there. So it's a Saturday, and those guys are all here cranking on stuff, dedicated. Dedicated. I can't let you see that whiteboard. There's probably important information on that. I tip it away from that. Important schedules. Anyway, they're here playing with the latest build because we're really, really close with Abduction. And we delayed, and it's a good thing because we had to fix a few more things. And the software is insane. You'd think after all these years we'd be like really, really good at nailing down when we finish it, and it just doesn't work that way. We're close, within a year or two, but anyway, yeah, we're actually wrapping up really well. The latest build they told me was great. Vicky says, maybe. Vicky's working on localization so that we have lots of languages in it. I was just updating journals and those kind of things so you could see them. We have some sound stuff we've got to do and a few little end-game tweaks and some creature stuff that I was working on with somebody last week that was kind of cool. It's way, way bigger. Abduction is way bigger than it should be. We went crazy and, oh my gosh, I don't know what we were thinking. Yeah, so yeah, we took the extra weeks because we basically went into Tony's office, our president, and said, so how much money do we have? Like, can we pay people for another couple weeks? And he said, well, probably about like 3 weeks maybe. And so we said, okay, well, we'll take 3 more weeks. It's amazing how those things coalesce, how much money you have and the end of the project. It's just like magic. When you're out of money, the project's done. So, but luckily for us, it's in pretty good shape at this point. I think we've had a chance to tune things. I just talked with one of the artists yesterday, and there was actually some chalk drawings in front of on a sidewalk in the game that they've been wanting to put in and hadn't been able to until we had just a little bit of extra time. So it's that kind of attention to detail that I think will be great. And then, yeah, there's a lot of gameplay tweaking and some story element things that we even changed later on based on some feedback we got from QA that they weren't getting parts of the story. This is Mysterium, but my brain is in Abduction right now, so you're just going to have to bear with me as I give you updates of that. And let me say this about Abduction. One of the most interesting things about this is working on these sequels for so long, it's interesting to be able to provide an experience that's very similar to that first Myst experience. That first Myst experience was unique because you didn't have any idea of the universe you were going into. You didn't know what happened before you got there, and you certainly didn't know what was going to happen after you got there. And that's unique to the first Myst game because after that, you had the history. You knew that guy Atris, and you knew some of the stuff that had gone on, and you always got to go to new places, but you kind of had some background. And that background's really, it's good stuff. That's awesome to see a sequel and kind of know the people and feel a little familiar with them. But there's also something special to being put in that situation for the first time ever and not knowing anything. And I think that's the fun we're having with Abduction. And we hope that you'll have with Abduction. There's no backstory that you know of. So you're going to be plopped. It won't be on a dock this time, but you'll be plopped into a new world, and you get to figure out what the story's about. Same kind of way. It's a complicated story. Have fun. It's one of those that we think there'll be a few threads after you play discussing, well, wait a minute, what if blah, blah, blah? What if this means this? And what if I got to go play this again? And when you do, you'll see things, and we kind of meant it to be that way. Hopefully we're not spoon feeding you stuff, but we're providing lots of hints in the environment and everywhere. If you play it the first time, and you won't get everything, I promise. And if you play it the second time, you'll go, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that. So enjoy. Oh, you're clapping now. Let's wait for a few weeks and we'll see. It looks beautiful. It's playing really well. You guys know the specs for the machine. It's kind of weird, except it reminds me of those early Myst days that you had to have, I don't think people remember, but back in those days when we released Myst, Chuck will remember, it was like high requirements for a machine. I remember people griping saying, well, what, I have to have a CD-ROM and I've got to have color, and it was kind of the early days, and we made people beef up their systems a bit, and it's going to be that way with Abduction as well. Luckily, there's some graphics cards that have come out lately that are pretty stout and not that expensive, so have fun with that. I am just getting ready. If I look tired, it's because I said last week I just feel like I'm in a pinball machine because I'm bouncing from one thing to the other so much. So I'm doing some sound work and jumping from testing to journals and user interface stuff. And on top of all that, we've got all the Kickstarter stuff that we're managing, and I was in charge of the database of that. Now, little known facts about me, I actually love doing database stuff. I think I have some kind of screw loose, but I'd be perfectly happy just sitting in a back room and people feeding me biscuits as I lovingly worked on a database and massaged it to perfection. But anyway, that aside, that means that as we get to this part of the Kickstarter, we've got to send out receipts and those kind of things, and I'm in charge of that. So on my Mac laptop is the entire Kickstarter database of everyone's names, and over the weekend, it was actually should have been started earlier, but I'm having trouble. Your emails will be sent from my laptop one at a time over the course of the next few days. I don't know how long it'll take, one email a second or something like that. It's kind of the final Kickstarter email. So little known facts, that's coming from my computer, which I will not be able to use while it's sending out Kickstarter crazy notification letters. So yeah, that's one of those little bits of trivia. Let's see, what else? I'm trying to think of other things with Abduction that are kind of interesting. Without giving anything away. This is the whole problem here. Did you guys know it's kind of about getting abducted? Did you know that? Yeah, I thought so. I have to think of something else. There are a lot of things that have happened. This is one of the things. There are a lot of things that as Rawa and I have been involved in design that subconsciously we go, now that we're into the game and the game is largely done, we go in and look at and we realize, oh my goodness, there's so many little things that are callbacks to other projects we've done. And in a lot of ways, I mean, there's a couple, Easter eggs that are kind of fun that are there on purpose, but it's kind of weird how much the Myst environments and even Chuck, the older stuff like the manhole stuff has become kind of part of us where it kind of adds into our design. We don't get away from that. And it's not until later we realize, oh, this has some similarities. And the Zed stuff I'm saying of Chuck's, it's the same thing. You see these styles that are woven through what the work you do. And rather than fight that, I think it's really cool to embrace it. And I hope you guys enjoy it, because I think if we embrace it, it comes through the people who liked our previous work. So, you'll see that stuff. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. With Abduction, we didn't try to really go nuts and reinvent everything. We tried to, with the storyline and the environments, do something fresh and new, but the friction is going to feel familiar and the pace should feel familiar. And some of the puzzles are easy and some of the puzzles are hard, and we tried to connect them in ways that, I'm sure some of you heard me say this before, connect those puzzles in ways that if you can't solve a puzzle and you get frustrated and you get a hint, after you get the hint, we want you to go, oh, I should have gotten that. We don't want you to go, what? What kind of stupid puzzle was that? There's no way I could have gotten that. If you blame it on us, then we've probably not done a good job. But if you blame it on you, we've done a good job. We want, in other words, let me summarize. We want you to feel stupid, okay? That's the first time in history anyone has gotten applause for saying we want you to feel stupid. I think that's a good way. It's served us well in our design work, and I think in Myst we stumbled on a lot of stuff. You know, we were experimenting. I'm sure, you know, Chuck told you about that. I mean, it was an interesting way to do things, and actually, it's the way we learned to do stuff. I don't know that I should have seen what Chuck had to say, but I'd love to chat with you more, Chuck. It feels like the way we learned to do those early games is how we still do it, even though we've got more people now. It's a much more evolutionary process. We don't nail everything down ahead of time. We have a pretty good design, but it's in pencils on a map, and there's a lot of freedom and a lot of fluidity as the game progresses, and the artists have a lot of freedom to kind of express things there, and even because of that, the puzzles will change, and the programmers have a different idea, and the fact that we don't communicate every little nuance that's in our brain, I think makes a better product, because in spite of the fact that some of the things in the game are not the way Rabo and I kind of pictured them, they're better. Well, probably very few of the things. Just kidding. And then even Rabo and I mean, we kind of mind meld on this stuff. We've been working together for so long. So as the design process goes on, we feel like we're in each other's head and we know things. But just two weeks ago, he was in, and I had a discussion about some stuff we needed to change because there was some misconception about one little tiny piece of the storyline. And I said, Ellen, we can't have people thinking that. And he went, no, that's what they're supposed to think. And it was like, wait, what? So even between the designers, we have little bits and pieces. And as it turned out, that little element was perfect for leaving a little bit vague. And so in the game, in its final form, we left it that way, where you can interpret it both ways. And I'll never tell you at all what I'm talking about. So we'll just leave it very abstract and weird at this point. So let's see, what other parts? It's been really interesting in the Unreal Engine. We've done a lot of stuff in our own engines, in the in-between times, as you guys know. And that has its whole, like a huge rat's nest of nastiness as you're trying to debug the engine at the same time you're trying to debug the game. It's terrible. But there are elements of it that are good, because at least you can go to somebody and say, hey, this is broken, you need to fix this. Where, if we find something in the Unreal Engine that isn't working quite right, it's not like we have any kind of authority to tell them to fix it. We submit it like everybody else does. With that said, we got some very smart guys here who have managed to write around little bugs. And it has been I'm sure as Chuck has told you as well, it's pretty darn amazing working in a really modern engine and seeing what it'll do. It's like you have magic at your fingertips sometimes. So yeah, and I look at it from afar, and I even look at the, in fact, I was just in one of our programmers' offices yesterday going over some sound stuff that wasn't quite timed the way it needed to be. And the scripting, the blueprint scripting in Unreal is really cool. It brings a whole new meaning to the term spaghetti code for those of you who are programmers, because you just have little boxes that you attach lines from and to, and it's real easy to get stuff done, like, oh, this number, and then put that number into this box and take that over into this box, except that then you can go, oh, wait, I need a box in here. We'll take this line, this one, and this, we'll bring it down to here, and then real quickly it kind of gets crazy looking and spaghetti monster-ish or something. I don't know. Anyway, in spite of the fact that what we were looking at was some really complex things, the conversation went to, oh, I don't want to get in there and do that fun stuff. That looks awesome. I want to create my own spaghetti code. So that's how fun it looks. It's so interesting. I'm willing to give up time spent with my database to do it. You know, it must be fun. So we're very close. If you guys were to come in and play the game now, you'd think it was done, except for some of these fringe places that is what we're trying to clean up. The things that you people will do, in spite of the fact that it doesn't make sense. You'll go explore in some little corner that we never thought you would, and it's like, oh, great, they pulled that handle the wrong way, and look what they broke. So thank you, because you're the ones who, that's how I need to say it. Thank you. It's your fault that it's late, because if you wouldn't do those things, we wouldn't have to fix it all. I like that. I'm using that one from now on. It's our fans and players' fault, not ours. If you would just stay on the main path, the golden path, everything would be fine. Mostly, I think. Right, guys? Mostly? Yeah. Yeah, they're not exactly nodding exuberantly. So I'll move on to also VR stuff, which is really cool. And I don't know how many of you, well, let's see, raise hands. How many of you have tried VR at all? Anybody? Anyone? Oh, we got a few. It's like, oh, cool. Okay. So, wow, it looks like half of you, maybe even more. I'm sure you guys have had a great experience with it. So how many have done like the higher end Oculus and Vive stuff? Okay, a few more. It's expensive that, you know, I don't know how long it's going to be before average person can afford it. By the time you get a nice machine and graphics card and then add in the expense of all the headset and stuff, it's kind of a developers and rich person's hobby at this point, or other people with disposable income. Yeah, not like me. But if Abduction does good, maybe I'll be able to get a VR headset. You guys are rooting for me to get a VR headset. So anyway, it's kind of fun to joke about, but it's really, really immersive. Not necessarily for the reasons you think. I don't know, Chuck went into went into Abduction with a VR. It was, wait, I'm seeing signs. Can't hear me?
Your audio keeps breaking up.
My audio's breaking up? Uh-oh. It's probably our incredible internet we have here. Someday we'll upgrade. Is that any better? Can you hear? If I get any test, a little weird.
Try disabling your video. Having audio is better.
Disabling video? Happily. How's that? I've disabled video.
Much better.
Is there a frozen, do I look good frozen on the screen? My icon that you guys see, that crazy bitmapped icon?
Yep.
Or do you see yeah, okay. All right. Okay, the video's good. Or that helped a bit. Okay, so VR, the thing, what I was saying is, it's VR. I knew Abduction. I played it on the flat screen monitors forever. I mean, this was, you know, months and months of testing, and then I got a chance to go in and VR and try it. And it's I mean, there's a lot of cool things that you can imagine, but the thing that struck me was how much it slowed down my exploration. I knew the world. I'd been in the world. I had seen the world numerous times, but in VR, it felt like I needed, like, there was more to examine. Like somehow I could get a little closer to something and I could look down at something and look over at something, and it were interesting, and the textures were interesting. I mean, suddenly I was not going through that I knew so well very quickly. I was going slowly and enjoying the journey. So it's a weird sense of presence. Why are you laughing at me? You're laughing at me, aren't you? I can tell. You're making fun of me right now behind my back.
The audio is still being a little wonky.
Is it? Okay.
Should we restart the Hangout?
You want to restart and see if we get a better bit rate here?
We'll call you right back.
All right. Please call me back.
Don't call us, we'll call you. He's not there yet.
Hey. It's like we're starting completely over again.
From the top.
I'm gonna say all the stuff again I've said. I'm just gonna repeat it all now, so I can fill more time that way. See, the remark about Chuck's one. See how he's doing this? This is because he's working on software. Sorry. No sound?
Hang on, we're changing some settings over here. One moment.
I can kind of hear you. I can see you guys really well. Aren't you, bro?
Okay, carry on.
Okay, so anyway, Chuck, sorry, this is what I do. I do this all the time. I think it's nerves from doing software, honestly. It's perfect. Okay, so anyway, VR, what I'm saying is it's a really cool experience. It feels immersive on kind of a new level, and in a way, it was reminiscent of those first experiences with Myst, where you felt like you were getting a special sense of being there because of the technology. VR feels like the next level of that. So you guys can hear me now on and off, kind of?
It's better.
Probably somebody's here is using the internet. Luckily, I'm not sending 20,000 emails out with my computer right now, things down as well. Good thing I couldn't get that working, probably. Okay, so that sums up for you guys of where we're at. Sorry, I think sound goes bad because front row. I need somebody to just have their thumb like this the whole time so I know whether sound is good or bad. That's perfect. Oh boy. Oh boy. So should I try turn off video again or?
It didn't really make a difference. It didn't really
No.
make a difference, so.
What if you guys turn off video? Maybe it's your fault. How about that? I can't see a response whatsoever. Do what?
Wireless.
Hold on here. We're checking everything on ours.
See if you can turn off the wireless.
Wait, turn off. Which one?
Turn Wi-Fi off.
No. Oh, are you? Am I?
Wonder if you turn this Wi-Fi
Oh.
back on.
Okay. Okay, I'm trying something else. Let's see if that works. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Hello, hear me now?
Yes.
We were on wireless. We're going to try wired. It had jumped back to wireless. Okay, this could, I see happy faces.
You're good.
Happy faces and no heads and hands. Okay, good. That's a good sign. All right. All right, sweet. That's what I've speech. I would love to tell you guys more about abduction. I'll wait and see what you ask because I don't want to give heads and hands. It's failing again, isn't it?
It's fine. It's fine.
Hello? Okay.
Everything's fine here.
Okay. I would love to give you guys more information, but I'll wait and see what you want, and I want to make sure I don't for people who want a pristine experience. There's already so many screenshots and stuff out. We're fighting the same battle we always do, where to market, we have people going, we need new screenshots, and we're like, no, it shows things, and we don't want people to, how are you going to sell it then? And it's like, well, we don't care. Just, it's going to be showing the screens, but we, you guys stay away if you want. Really good. I don't know why it's there. I wish I knew sign language. Some kind of I love you thing. I don't know what it is. Is that it? No, that's or hook 'em horns or something. Yeah. Why don't we try some questions, and that way you guys can hear yourselves talk for at least part of the time.
If you would like to ask a question, as with Chuck, come up over here. There is a microphone.
Hi.
Hey.
So not really an abduction question, but I figured we kind of get.
Wait, closer to the microphone. Closer.
This close? Is this good? Is this
Perfect.
Okay. So a couple of us were talking over breakfast this morning how Survey Island kind of doesn't make sense with one of the maglevs. And there went the camera. Anyway, mostly we think we kind of figured out what happened, but we just decided someone should ask for confirmation. When you were designing Survey Island in Riven, did you add the second maglev, the one to Temple Island, I think it was? Yeah. Did you add that one in later on than the first maglev?
What the maglev from Survey to Jungle?
Temple. Oh, Jungle. Yeah, Jungle.
Wait, from Survey to Jungle Island,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I think that was added later. I think at some point that wasn't going to be a mag. A lot of those weren't going to be maglevs at all in the original design. That you would cross in a lot of them, and ended up being a much more fun way to get from place to place. So on that one in particular, back and see this gray hair.
But that was just what we figured. Thank you.
Yeah. I think it was supposed to not be a maglev. There's a portion of that design, that kind of forested area that's down at the bottom that as well. The remnants, yeah. You. Yes.
Hey Rand, do you have Skype on that computer?
Hey. I don't think I have Skype on this one. I have Skype on mine. I can go get my laptop and we want to try that.
We'll carry
anything at this point?
We'll carry on like this.
Grab my laptop and we can try Skype, or somebody can go grab my laptop. We're talking. It's just in the office. They're just it's plugged in, but it's got the mag thing powered. Okay, so we'll keep going. You guys can go like this, and we'll bring up Skype and fade this one, the Skype one in. Maybe. Okay, should we try another question, or is it really bad?
It's pretty okay. I'm the one with my head in my hands in the front row.
I get feedback from the audience that is like, oh, he hates what I'm saying.
But we have somebody on the stream suggesting we find all your blue pages again, so.
Oh yeah, that'll work. Yeah.
Perfect.
So just on a weird, my boyfriend was asking me about this also. How does it feel to see us here every year? All things considering, how long has this been going on? How long? 17. How does it feel that we've been doing this weird thing for 17 years?
It's amazing. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. We have like the best fans in the world. You guys rock, because we can't always like support you directly. You do this on your own, and you do it amazingly. You do creative, hello, anything. Now? No? I got a thumbs up? Okay, so there we go. Amazing creative stuff on your own. Wow. I'm going to try Skype. So I can entertain you while I do it. Hey, Elliot. Let's see.
The username would be Mysterium Con.
What's the name?
Mysterium Con?
One word? All lowercase, or close enough to find it, maybe? No. Okay. Mysterium Com?
C-O-N, like convention.
Oh, got it. Okay. I'm just, you want to try that? M-Y-S-T-E-R-M. Clever, huh? Any luck?
One moment.
Good thing we have 4 hours of this today. Everybody's like, ha, 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 ha. You ready for mine? It's Mr. M, and that is M, all lowercase, M-Y-S-T-E-R-E-M. Anytime. Nothing? I'm not in Brazil. It's weird. You're not finding me, huh?
Okay, we added you, hopefully.
Okay. I should get something saying I'm happy to accept you, right? Yeah. Good. Perfect. Did I lose you? That's different. Okay, here we go. Yay, accept.
Okay, we will hang up this call and then we can start it. One moment.
All right. Okay, can you guys hear me on that one?
Yes.
Any better? Does Skype do better than Google? Wait, Skype is Microsoft, right? This is battle of Microsoft versus Google. Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah? Thumbs up, thumbs down, head in the hands. Yay! I can't hear you guys, but
You can't hear us?
I may approach the mic.
You can't hear us.
There we go. I heard that. So we do have audio. All right, Skype.
Next question.
Yay, Skype. Microsoft wins. Sorry, Google. Wait,
As
did I
long as
lose
the
you?
audio works, we don't care at this point.
Well,
Okay.
Yep.
All
Sounds
right.
like this mic works on our end, so.
Oh, apparently Skype is frozen on our end.
I can hear you.
He can hear us. Okay, it's fine.
I can hear you, but you're frozen right now. At least you're frozen with no heads in your hands.
You're frozen too, so don't feel bad.
It's
What,
the
is
air
it,
conditioning.
is it frozen in a good pose?
Questionable.
You look stoically
It's always
happy.
how. All righty. Okay. Should we try? Oh, not frozen. Yay. At least it's giving sound the priority, so that's good.
I suppose sound is better than video. All right. Well, anyhow, kind of on the subject of video, and like even Chuck, feel free to answer this one, because both of you have talked about VR and like how looking through it changes the experience. But a common thing that comes up with VR is a lot of people feel like disoriented or they feel sick. And I've discovered that this is actually a condition called simulation sickness that can even affect people just sitting in front of their computer screen playing like a game online depending on frame rate. And I was just curious if with Abduction, depending on your test, if anyone's reported like simulation sickness or issues with that.
Yeah, you've come to the right spot. So I get like sick in front of large screens when people are playing quickly and going through worlds. I get that. I don't know what it's called because I get sick in the backseat of a car too. So it all seems related to me. Like, and I think somebody once told me that it's related to the fact that your brain says, hey, your eyes are doing one thing and your inner ear is doing another. Therefore, you must have eaten poison mushrooms. You should vomit now. So I don't know if that's true, but I like it. And sometimes sitting in front of a big screen, I feel like I've eaten poison mushrooms. Now, with that said, VR will definitely induce that, but it doesn't have to. Moving in VR is what induces that. I'm very susceptible to that, but when I put the goggles on and I look around and I explore the area I'm in, I don't get sick at all. It feels so natural and really immersive. It's only when I try to move, when the brain, when the inner ear and the eyes are disconnected somehow, that it messes up. Now, with Abduction, it's kind of interesting because we've got this great benefit of the Myst legacy that says, oh, when you click, you go from here to here. We call them nodes as we do them now. And so for Abduction, that's how we're doing navigation. There are hardy people, some of them even in this QA room that I showed you earlier, that can get into a VR world and free roam through it without vomiting, and I think it's a learned thing, kind of like drinking beer or something. You know, it's a very learned taste. You do enough of it and it starts to taste good, or you don't get sick or something. So, but yes, it is a real thing, but it is much more tied with movement and as in navigating back and forth rather than just looking around. So if you have VR, we have a standard node-based kind of exploration. In fact, I could actually show you. These guys are actually testing the node stuff now, even on the flat screen, because we've got the same kind of exploration that we had in Myst for people who don't want to learn how to navigate in a 3D world. They can just point and click, and it works great in VR as well. So great question, though. Chuck's probably seeing the same thing. Chuck, do you play in free roam in VR?
They're going to do node-based sometime in the future.
You what? Node-based?
He's coming.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, right now it's all free roaming, only because we haven't gotten to the point where we're going to be doing the nodal based. But
Yeah.
all the stuff I've been playing with is nodal based, and you do get rid of the sickness with it pretty well. So yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pain putting those nodes in, but it's what everybody's doing in VR, I think, these days anyway. So yeah. Cool. Good question. Really good question.
Thank you. Glad to hear that those of us who do have that problem might be able to play it in relative safety. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Wait, was that a question?
They told me to wait a second. All right, so I want to ask.
Oh, they told you?
Yeah. So I want to ask a question about Abduction. Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, close to the mic helps me.
Okay, awesome. So I want to ask a question about Abduction. I'll try and make it vague so you don't have to divulge any precious secrets. But so I feel like the role of puzzles in the original Myst was more of as a gatekeeper, whereas in Riven you made the transition, I feel, to have puzzles as storytellers. I was wondering, what sort of balance have you reached with puzzles in Abduction? Are they more gatekeepers or storytellers?
We've reached perfection with Abduction. I wish. The perfection is, it's a little bit of both. Ideally, you need friction in a game.
Yes.
And since we don't have bad guys with guns to slow you down, we've got the puzzles. And in Myst, it started out, they were a little more arbitrary, like a dentist's chair in a planetarium, and they got better as we got better to where Channelwood kind of made some logical sense, with flowing water and powering elevators, if you could, a little bit of artistic license there. But ideally, the puzzles should fit into the environment well and tell a story at the same time providing a realistic amount of friction. Now, the reality of all that is that's like really hard, and I think why people don't make these kind of games is we have to balance so many things. I can't just have a gaming mechanism that is a gun in my hand and a bad guy over there, and then just kind of put a bunch of stuff in the world that looks cool. I have to balance this world and the environment and the looks of the environment with the story that I'm trying to tell and the friction that I'm trying to get in there at the same time. And it's this weird tripod of things that all pulls against each other in some ways, because some of the puzzles we could put in like devious or interesting or crazy puzzles if we didn't have to think of why they were there and what the history was behind them, and how it fits in with the actual environment that we're designing as well. And so it really is kind of this internal tug between those three things that we try to balance well. Now, I'd like to think that the reason you guys are in this conference is because that's what you kind of appreciate about what we do. You like that balance. And I would guess that there's some of you that are, because people are different, some of you probably on that tripod of things I mentioned might tend more toward the puzzles, and so you kind of are like, oh, sweet, I like The Witness, and that was more my cup of tea. That was more puzzle oriented. And some of you are like, well, I like the environments, and Dear Esther was great because it was a story, but there wasn't really any interface at all. And so there are people, and some of you like story, and maybe Firewatch, was something that was interesting to you because it was more narrative and that kind of thing. But everything, all these games, and especially a lot of the indie stuff, it all is kind of, it's all in those kind of tripod areas, and depending on the people who are making it, they're pulling in one direction more or the other, and it just so happens that we try to balance it. It's not a right and wrong thing. It's just you guys kind of like doing it, playing it, and we kind of like making it that way. So for Abduction, we really did try to get that balance as good as we could.
Thank you.
Good question.
Are non-abduction questions welcome here, or am I out of season?
Any questions about anything, even my personal life, is welcome. I won't answer, but you're welcome to ask them.
Okay. I am a pretty heavy Uru player as things go. And when people ask me about various things in my life, sometimes I wind up telling them that Uru has made a difference in my life that is difficult to explain, difficult sometimes even to imagine, and I lived it. And, the bad news is that right now, new account creation has been suspended, so I'm sorry, but you can't join me. So, of course, I'm wondering, after Abduction is, launched and on the rails for a while, are they going to be able to open new account creation back up? What about fan age creation and additions? Can we hope to get those in the next few years? Because with no new content since 2008, I think it may take a little bit to attract some of the older experienced players back into the fold. I mean, having the Guild of Greeters and the new greeters pretty much just desert the works is, kind of a shock too. But even though it's an old platform, I see Uru as one of the most valuable things that Cyan has done. Even though it may not have paid Cyan very much on a commercial level, it has created a social construct that might not have been possible to create any other way. You have a very strong international community of brilliant and interesting people with a lot of energy, at least potential energy behind it even now if it's handled right. And I thought I'd ask about that.
Yeah, that's really good. I'm going to start by saying I love Uru. Of all the things that we've done, and Abduction's pretty high up the list because it's the last thing we've done, but Uru was a labor of love that I'm proud of to this day. It's one of I feel like we did things and invented things before their time, and I know it's common for people to make an excuse when something isn't as successful as it should be, that you're ahead of ahead of the game a bit, and I still think that that what we did and the stuff we did is still reasonable for an online experience. That people will want to go to places and experience online new things all the time. They want to become part of a story. Those of you who have read Ready Player One, it feels like it's like, you know, they went into an adventure. It wasn't necessarily about going in to kill people. It was going in to solve puzzles and see what was going on and find a treasure, and that felt more like Uru than anything online that I know of, and that, you know, is hugely popular book right now. So I think the concepts that Uru presented were right. Hopefully it was a little ahead of its time. Now, as for what we can do with it, it's hard to say. It's the aging of Uru is what causes a lot of our inability to update, because as technology advances, the platform starts to degrade, and we don't have people here who even can fix things anymore. We have basically one guy now, Mark DeForest, who goes in and upkeeps stuff on a regular basis, and he's kind of on contract with us off-site. He's awesome to work with. We've worked with him through the years, but at some point, you know, people have dribbled away from here, and people don't know the platform anymore. So we've got him who, you know, to kind of tend to things there, to just keep things running. And we've got Jason, who has been intent on Abduction at this point, as well, who probably knows that engine, but we can't afford for him to spend the cycles on doing anything in there now. With all that said, the concept and the willingness are all here. It's just a matter of other things lining up. We don't have the money and resources to do it, the people to do it, or to spare, so we've been just trying to keep it going because we love it so much. I'd like nothing better, and many people there would like nothing better than to be able to like be flush with cash and kind of redo that or bring it up to modern day specs and really kind of give it another shot at being something. But with all that said, I don't know what the future holds. It may be that we get a chance to do that with Uru, and it may be that somebody else does something similar and says, I'm going to, you know, they'll do a world that we can visit and holds interesting things to explore, or maybe we'll get another shot in the future to do something like it or something different. I just don't know. So much as I'd love to promise we can get back to it, I just don't know at this point, you know, that we'll have the resources. Some of it will depend on Abduction and how well it does, and some of it will depend on any doors it might open for us as well. You know, we might get more jobs from that, and at this point it feels like we're kind of bootstrapping ourselves anyway. Kind of the Abduction gives us a chance to do a few more things, and if we're smart with that, we can turn that into, you know, a little bit of growth. But we'll just, unfortunately my answer is let's see, but it's not for lack of wanting.
Thank you very much. I felt I had to bring it up.
It's good. Thanks. I appreciate your support.
Sometimes when I think about these, I find myself thinking that maybe money and capital returns themselves are not the best way to measure the value, especially the personal and social value of things in our society.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I don't measure the value of Abduction in monetarily at all. If we did that, it wouldn't be running right now. We got the rights back and got it running because we love it. And my wife and I, we like to just go in there and explore. I mean, those worlds are still close to my heart and her heart. I mean, those are just, we love those beautiful places. It's you know, it's not there for money right now, but it takes money to keep it there and to make it better. So we'll see what the future holds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm just curious. What does your development team look like? You know, how many artists versus developers versus QA? Like, what does it take to build a game like Abduction or Riven or whatever? What does it take?
Well, Chuck probably told you Myst was definitely a smaller effort, and in a lot of ways, Abduction feels similar to Myst. It's probably larger team, but much more cohesive and integral, kind of like the Myst thing was, where Chuck had a lot of freedom to kind of design things in his style, and I think, I mean, unless he told you otherwise, there was freedom, and that's both good and bad. That can sometimes, if you're an artist, you go, well,
Hello.
you guys there?
Yes.
I can hear you. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Yeah,
There we go.
Your video is off.
Grainy, nasty videos, better than nothing. Make sure I'm okay. So what I was saying was, this effort feels much more like the Myst effort, with all its pluses and minuses, than anything we've done between the two. Riven, we hired a boatload of people and got SGI workstations, and it was craziness because Myst gave us money to afford all that. And you start like not even knowing people, and things were designed to a particular level. This feels more like it's scrappy, and there's not a lot of time and money and resources, so the artists have freedom, and that's both good and bad, because sometimes they make something and it's like, oh wait, this won't work because this, and we don't find out till later. But frankly, it's the only way we're going to get this done. We have to be fast, and I know this doesn't seem fast to you, and it probably with a Kickstarter $1 million seems like a lot to you, but every bit of that money is gone, and then some. We've had to get more, has gone into this game, trying to squeeze every last little drop out of it. So with that said, we are right now 4 programmers, if you guys can hear me,
Yes.
and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 artists, 7 artists, maybe 6 or 7 artists, and then a couple designers and people filling all kinds of holes between those, because like some of the designers do other things, and Ryan Warzeka, who's our producer, is also in the engine putting in nodes, and I'm doing some sound work, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 QA guys. And the QA is probably the different part than the thing we've learned over the years that we didn't have necessarily from Mr. Riven. And QA we learned during Uru, and we brought we've been doing QA since early on in Abduction, even before it seemed logical when they were just really looked trashy. But I think that's helped us toward the end as well. I think you guys will get a much better experience because these guys have been hammering on it for a long time, finding bugs. So yeah, it's definitely bigger. I think the thing that's the most different is the QA aspect, and what feels the most different from those early Myst days is the QA aspect. And as Chuck probably mentioned, those early Myst days, the QA aspect was just bringing people in and sitting behind their backs and watching them play, and then seeing what we did wrong. And I think Myst was easier to QA and Riven than Abduction, since you can go anywhere in a real-time 3D game. I mean, you know, you get a lot of people doing crazy things. Thank you, people. I know you'll do that for us. Node, if all it was node mode, it probably would be easier to QA, but it's not, and we want you to be able to go everywhere, so it takes a little longer. Okay, good question.
Yes. I understand if you can't say one way or another, but what's next for Cyan after you're done with Abduction?
It's hard to contemplate, and we know we should. If we were like a really good company and perfect in every way, we would already have had some guys lining up the next thing in parallel and designing this, and I would have moved on to something else and been designing it so that our guys could roll into it, but we're just too into this. Every bit of resources we have is in Abduction, and so, you know, we're kind of focused on it. Now, with that said, we know that after Abduction on PC and Mac, there's a potential for migrating that to other platforms, which would be kind of fun and would take some effort from the team we've got here. And we also know that we're very intrigued with VR, and it's possible we want to get into that a little more seriously and see what kind of designs you could do for VR that were VR only instead of a hybrid kind of experience. And but with all that stuff said, which is kind of like, who knows where that goes, we also have other ideas. Just like Abduction was an idea that was on our drawing board for 10 years, we've got other ideas that we've kind of honed over the years that have kind of bubbled to the surface every now and then, and those are still there as well. And I don't know which of those paths will go down. If we were, you know, good at this, I probably could tell you, but it all feels like, frankly, seat of the pants, and those companies that make 5-year plans, I don't know how the hell they do it. Sorry, excuse my French. Yeah, it's hard. So yeah, we'll just make our choices as we see the future kind of unfold before us and try and get more input.
Thank you. Actually, one more question. Have you played that Gaminette game I sent you yet?
Heck yeah! The thing is awesome. You guys saw that, right? Did you bring one there? This sits, by the way, this is up all the time in our office. It sits on our conference table, in our second conference table, where all the artists work out in the open. It sits there all the time. We brought it over here just so we could show it off a bit. It's really cool. Really cool. Awesome job. Like, amazing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sweet. Love it.
Hello. If it's not a spoiler, the voiceover of the trailer, of the Abduction trailer, is that Isha's voice actress? Like asking for a friend?
No, it's no. Somebody completely new. Yeah, the only person we've got rolling over from the old stuff is Robin, my brother. He's also in the new stuff. So yeah, it'll be new.
Cool. Can't wait to meet her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you couldn't tell, she's dressed as Yisha.
I could tell. Awesome. Yeah.
We have a question from the
yes, we got
stream. Can you give us an update on the Myst TV series that was talked about some time ago?
What would be fun is to get one of you guys to give the answer I always give. Actually, usually when you guys ask about it, I say something like, "Well, I don't really understand Hollywood, and things take forever there, and it goes into development hell, and who knows what happens then." And we've been there. But with all that said, we still have exciting things happening, and with the same, we're not a different company, still the same company, and the rights, and things start to get movement, and people start to be brought on board and attached to things, and I still refuse to get too excited about it because it's been so long, and I really don't know how it works, but it feels like to me that, yeah, progress is being made. So, again, it could be one of those things that in short order, all of a sudden we're like, boom, there's exciting things happening and announcements are being made and fun stuff's going to be coming out. Like at the drop of a hat, as soon as they get the right people attached and things start to move, there's potential for that. Or next year, I'll be answering the same question.
Do you have any interest in doing any other multiplayer games in the future, even if they're not massively multiplayer?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I think our basic philosophy on that is that it's fun to explore not alone. It's fun to do it in groups, and I think you guys would agree. That's why you're there, frankly. It's kind of interesting to bounce ideas off people, and when we test the game, we bring people in. There was even in Abduction, we had this crazy idea of doing the road trip mode or whatever we called it that we thought was really natural for a couple people, where if it was simple enough, one person could drive and another person would just kind of be the passenger, and you could both kind of look at what was around, but one person would be in charge of where you went. But you could talk about it and say, wait, what's that over there, and what's that over there? Kind of like sitting in front of the same monitor. So yes, we would love to do those things. Abduction was purely a resource thing that doesn't allow that. I don't think we're into the massive as much as the multiplayer, like we did in Uru. It was nice to be able to kind of pick how many people you want to explore with, and I think that's much more along the way our philosophy kind of comes down.
Okay, there was another stream question. We're attempting to paraphrase it. What are your thoughts on multiverse theory?
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh, how much time do you have? Are you guys getting video of me, or is it just audio?
Just audio.
Okay. All right. Multiverse theory. Well, okay, so Rawa and I have long discussions about this. We've discussed this stuff for years. My real multiverse theory is not the same as my Myst multiverse theory. So I have to have two mindsets on this. In Myst, there are many branches on the tree of probability, and you can, using the books, kind of jump from one branch to the other. So in the Myst world, I wholly embrace the multiverse concept. In the real world, or the simulation that we live in, which I think is perfectly reasonable to believe. I don't think there's that it's a multiverse. I think that oh man, this could take a long time. You really don't want to know this, but I think we cull the tree as we plow through it, and the quantum collapse of the wave function is that culling of that tree. In other words, the other universes go away as we plow through time. So there, I've said it. I'm sure many of you would love to discuss that further, and most of you would be like, whatever, let's get on with the next question.
I was wondering if you could give us an update on the ownership status of Myst 3 and Myst 4, and if we will ever see them re-released as digital downloads.
Oh, that's a really good question. We just recently have talked more with companies involved in those, and I think hopefully are making more progress. And again, it's much more interesting to us than it is to large companies who have those rights, who this means little or nothing to. So from our point of view, we're really trying everything we can, even to the point of when one of our guys was in Europe on vacation in France, made a visit to certain companies to talk to them about doing certain things with this. So yes, I think as long as we can get the right people involved, at least theoretically, we have them going, yeah, we don't see any problem with that. But big companies, things bog down. So, but we've made progress. Hopefully that's something that's going to happen pretty quickly too, or never. There you go. By the way, that's not a money thing for us. Honestly, it's not. We're not thinking we're going to make money on those things. It's not about some percentages that we're haggling over. It's just, come on, let's just get these things out there. So, yeah.
Okay, another stream question. Are there any plans for other games in the Dunny universe at some point after Abduction?
There's not concrete plans, but there are plans in the recesses of my mind, and so I'm going to give you guys you're probably going to hear this in various places now because I'm starting to use this, but it feels like the idea of Abduction and the idea of Myst are kind of like your home. Your home is a wonderful place. Myst is like our home, and it's a wonderful place, and we love our home. And it felt like we were in our home for about 20 years and never got out. And it's not that we don't like our home, but sometimes we just need to see other things and get out for a vacation. And Abduction feels like a really nice vacation, and it would be lovely if this new vacation turned into a second home for us. But it's still just a second home. And it actually, after you're on vacation, it does sometimes feel nice to go back home. So yeah, it's refreshing, and everything's open and fun for us at this point.
This might be just a vacation question. Sorry. Oh, can you hear me now? All right. So, side question, as personal one, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh, gosh. Come on, you can't ask me that. Listen, so I'm going to say it this way. I love movies, first of all. I go to movies. When there's movies, I go to them. I saw Star Wars 7 times back in the day when it first came out. It made me I was just blown away by it. And it's inspiration, like I'm sure you hear from, you know, lots of people, especially my age. It inspired us. So if I had to pick between the two, just because of that, it would be Star Wars, because it just was there at a, you know, key pivotal moment in my life, and I saw it more than I've seen any movie probably. But with that said, I went to the new Star Trek movie like on opening day, and I loved it. I thought it was one of the best ones in a long time. And so I just like a fun ride, and you know, give me a fun ride and I'm in. You know, I'm a simple man sometimes, and I don't need it super complex. Sometimes I just enjoy the ride. Either way.
Book of Marrim. I think you know the rest of the question.
This is another one that I could totally get any of you to just come up to the mic and answer. Yeah. With everything we've got going on, I'm gonna say that we've probably added another level of burners to the stove and pushed them back a little further. Like instead of 2 levels of burners on this stove, there might be like 3 or 4, and Book of Marrim's probably way back there still on the stove because we love it. But you know, this is gonna be a giant stovetop by the time it's all done, I think. Oh man, it's a good one. It wouldn't be a Mysterium without someday when I'm near death, you guys need to not ask the Book of Marrim question, and I'll just like, it'll be like, well, that's all, and I'll just like keel over dead, and it'll be like the perfect way for me to die. The ending will
We'll put you can have. I still didn't get to publish that. I'm very sorry.
Oh, exactly. No, on my I didn't know what's going to be on my tombstone is the ending is written.
Just to follow up about future projects, is there a chance that Lattice might make an appearance for one of those? And do you think you'll do Kickstarter for future projects?
Good question on both of those. Yeah, Lattice is another one of those projects. It's been around for so long, and it's evolved. Abduction, you guys would not believe how many, I'm looking because Ryan has an old Abduction poster from like 6 years ago. I'm at his desk, and he's got one on the wall here that you guys would crack up at, because it's not, Abduction then has very little resemblance to what it became now, other than the basic concept of being abducted and going to a new place. So Lattice feels the same way. It's gone through so many incarnations and design phases, and even crazily, we've done short form video concepts of it, and even did some of our own recordings with some of our local guys who do this kind of stuff. At some point to tie into like a game, and did a proposal for a console, a famous console maker that we presented to them that got some traction. Anyway, a lot of different things that's happened with Lattice. But Lattice might lend itself well to VR. And that would be probably where you would see it surface if it creeps back up. And then, with all my ranting and talking, I couldn't remember the second part of the question. What was the second part? Sorry.
Would you plan to use Kickstarter for future projects?
Oh yeah, Kickstarter. I think so. I think we did Kickstarter at the right time. It's complicated, and there's lots of stuff you have to consider. And as Chuck knows, you bite your nails up until the last minute, and then it pushes through, and you're like, great, now I have to do this, and it's hard, and it's, all those things. So, but yeah, the experience has been awesome. I mean, you'd think that it would be hard having, like when we go to a publisher, it's like we get half a dozen or new bosses who tell us what they want. But with Kickstarter, it was like, oh, good, we've got 20,000 new bosses, except it's not that way. It feels like you have 20,000 people who are actually, rooting for you and supporting you and not yelling at you when you slip a little bit. And, that most people in the Kickstarter really felt like they're on our side. And that's a really cool feeling. And we want to do right by that and give you a great experience for your money. So hopefully you'll be pleased. And yeah, we'd love to go back and do a Kickstarter if we need to. We'll see what happens with Abduction. Again, if it makes money, we can fund things ourselves, hopefully, which you're never supposed to do. You're supposed to use other people's money, but we haven't learned that lesson yet either. We're not good business people, but at least we keep people employed as much as possible. So, Tony says sometimes that our business is not software, it's just employment. We're in the employment business. We don't ever make a profit, but we do try to keep people employed. It's better than banking.
Last two questions. Hang on. Rand, can you stick around for 5 more minutes?
Sure.
Okay, great.
Do you have any plans or ideas for any more future mobile games, maybe an adventure game?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you mean like Bug Chucker or something, except an adventure game. See, Bug Chucker was not a great thing for us. So I love Bug Chucker. I love it. I own the top score on that game and did some of the levels, and I'm very proud of that. If only it would have even come close to paying for itself, that would have been great. But I think we sold 10 copies or something. So yeah, we have to be careful in the mobile market. I think if we did it again, it's probably going to be related to things that people know we do well, not things that are completely different than what we're, into. So, yeah.
Thank you.
What is your favorite age in the Myst universe?
Woo! Wow, 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 wow. Oh my goodness. Well, see, my mind, I'm trying not to pick one out of the games because there was a couple in the books that were really cool. The crazy... Okay, so here's one. This is a little out of the ordinary, and probably you guys don't think of this much. I don't even know where this came from. There's one age that Atris wrote that, like, he wrote it at the end. The whole world was written at the end of its life cycle, so that he could go down on the planet and watch the crazy collapse of the orbital mechanics of this thing. And I love that idea. That somebody just told me there's a VR game for the Vive that's called Universe Sandbox or something like that. And the idea that you go in and you have like worlds and you can place them with the Vive, and then you can like shoot things around, and it uses real gravity, I'm told. That stuff just blows me away. I think I have this in common with Chuck on the whole space thing. I love his illustrations, on the science illustrations he does. I love I mean, he loves the space stuff. I love this space stuff, and I especially like that idea that, oh my gosh, you could write a world right on the edge of it being destroyed. Go down, watch the moons that were around it, you know, kind of reverse and collapse, and then blink out before it all happens. It's like the ultimate fireworks show, and then you get out of there. That seems like really, really cool to me. And if I could write books, I'd probably that's what I would be doing. Yeah. So that, I know that's probably not what you'd expect to hear, but I always thought that would be a really cool thing.
Okay, well, we are out of time. Thank you for once again joining us, Rand.
Thank you, guys.
And please also thank Vicky for putting up with all of our emails the past several months.
Oh, wait, there's video. Wait, thanks, guys. Hey, thanks for all your support and help and sticking with us. And I'll be anxious to get Abduction to you and let you play it, and then send us feedback, but only if it's good feedback, because we don't want to hear your complaints. I'm just kidding. You guys have a good conference.
Thanks. See ya.